Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, everybody, to a live edition of the Screaming Boy podcast. And I do have to say, that is one of the creepiest intros at the beginning of the Spider-Man theme I've ever heard. But it was amazing. I loved it. So, once again, welcome. And right now with me, I am Ronnie Adams, one of your hosts of the Screaming Boy podcast. And we have with us one Mr. Jesse Starcher. Street level, how we doing?
What's up, man? Listen. Give me 5 minutes, and usually I just scour the YouTubes for any metal cover of anything, and then I toss it up there. So there's your. I wish I could give credit for that. I'll have to do that later. But that was a pretty good, a little metal, old school Spider-Man.
Yeah. So as you can guess. Wait a minute. Before we go any further, how you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. Doing very well tonight. You had a little couple of days of technological hell there, did you?
Gosh. It was something
happened?
else, man. We had, let's see. Okay, so my wife went on vacation, took the daughter with her down to the beach, and then that was Wednesday. So yeah. Thursday goes by without a hitch, had a good time, and then Friday comes around, and this storm wages through the valley here and takes down this tree right down beside the house. And it was across the street, but it landed on a power line. So, yeah, that was 4 o'clock Friday night. Now, here's the thing, dude. Okay, I'm okay with, no electric. All right, well, I'll make the best of it. I'll read a book.
Yeah.
I got boxes of comics, keep myself educated with and have a good time and entertained. But the thing is that the 3-year-old son and the 7-year-old son are very much dependent upon technology as we know it. YouTube is life, apparently, around here, because when the electricity went off and the YouTubes and the internets went down, no Netflix, oh my goodness. I was at, let's just say I was trying to find things to do. And the thing is that it landed on the line just enough to where a block down, they had electricity. Okay? I think there was maybe a two block radius did not have electricity, so it just kind of sucked here until about 11 o'clock Saturday. Okay, good. Hey, we got electricity back on. I thought the cable was going to be out that much longer. Nope, cable was on. We're ready to go. That was Saturday. We're up and running. We're back in the new age here, folks. And then Monday hits, and there's a tornado warning 30 miles down the road. And my internet just decides to limit kaput to flaster flawing. Okay, it goes away.
Right.
And to which source material. We were supposed to do a source material that night,
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I don't cancel shows. I don't like to do it. And I honestly could have done the show via phone. However, remember how I mentioned my wife was on vacation?
Mm-hmm.
I being the good parent that I am, let my kids stay up at to not an indecent hour, but like 10 o'clock. Usually they're in bed by 8:30.
Yeah.
At least staying in bed by 8:30. 10 o'clock rolls around, they're still up. Well, our show was supposed to go live at 9, and the thing is that without internet, even though I could have called by phone, my kids would have been right there during the whole show because there's nothing for them to do. There's no internet. There's no YouTubes. So they would have been right by my side, and there's no way we would have been able to do a show anyway. So finally that fixed itself probably 11 o'clock Monday night, and we have not had any problems since, thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Good. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready. This will be my first Spider-Man show, I think, since we were supposed to do one Monday. This will be my first one this week. I did a Metal Hammer of Doom there Wednesday, but haven't had a chance, the opportunity to discuss anything Spider-Man related yet.
Yeah, this has been supposed to be Spider-Man Week on the Radulage and Broadcasting Network. So we just decided, since we didn't do a source material show, and I know they did Spider-Man Homecoming on Damn You Hollywood, and what did you all do on Metal Hammer of Doom? I'm so sorry I didn't get to listen in.
Oh, no, we didn't do anything Spider-Man related there. We just did, what was it? It was, Power Flow. It was just me and Mark. Okay, you know Cypress Hill, right?
Yeah.
You remember Cypress Hill? The big...
absolutely.
Okay. All right, well, the front man...
Insane in the Membrane.
There you go. The front man, Be Real, went off and is doing a side project with Chuck D from Public Enemy. And
what?
Yeah. Now hold on. That isn't the good news in relation to the show. Yeah, he's doing a side project. Chuck D and Rage Against the Machine. So that band came together. Yes, that band comes together, and they created a band called Prophets of Rage. All right. Now, there's another band member of Cypress Hill called Sin Dog. He's the guy that, if you remember any Cypress Hill song, he's the guy always going like, "Hits from the bone." He always has that weird... Yeah. Okay, that's Sin Dog. So Sin Dog does almost the exact same thing. He goes off and finds members of Fear Factory, Biohazard, and a metal band called Downset, and it's basically a rap metal album where Sin Dog is doing the lyrics. So that is Power Flow. That's who we reviewed this past Wednesday. Had nothing to do with Spider-Man, but we got into some fun, in-depth discussion. Of course, you were part of that, and what Mark decided to tell a funny story on there. So if you guys are interested, yeah, you guys are interested, go in there and check it out. No.
None of this. If you guys are interested, I want to know what he said about me.
No, I want anything about you. He just has it's funny because he has an issue with telling kids to say inappropriate things, apparently. He just shared a video. Yeah. He just shared a video of his son saying butt crack at a restaurant, which is so funny because Wednesday he shared
butt crack.
He shared a story from when he was like 20-some years old where he had, well, I wouldn't say he had. He certainly didn't put her up to it. But his niece, I think it was some relation to his, said something very inappropriate about Denny's. And so that caused that caused a little bit of a... I made sure to put out a picture of Denny's and made sure to put on there that they're not a sponsor, because they certainly wouldn't be after that story. But yeah, we had a good time. We had a good time on there.
Good, man. Well, we here on the Screaming Boy podcast, we have decided to do a show. Basically, I love the way you titled it on.
It fits.
Yeah, some sort of some sort of Spider-Man show. So, what is that? What it said? Yeah, I got to check it again.
Yeah, some kind of Spider-Man discussion.
Some kind of Spider-Man discussion. Thanks. No. I have entitled tonight is Why Spider-Man. Now, we call you Street Level Starch. That's a nickname that you have, and that's because out of all the Marvel and DC, mostly Marvel with you, out of all the Marvel characters, you relate mostly to the street level guys, like Punisher and Spider-Man, and I don't think you've read much Luke Cage and Iron Fist, but Daredevil and guys like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you would. If I was reading comics back in the 90s, the furthest, I kind of, I guess I would say that my tastes went out there was maybe like to the mutant titles like X-Men, Cable, things like that. But I certainly wasn't reading a lot of the cosmic stuff. I always kept it more, I was more the Spider-Man guy, the Punisher guy, the street level dude.
Mm-hmm. I think you and I, as far as our comic book taste went, and I think you and I share a lot in common, because the cosmic stuff I did enjoy, but I didn't collect as much as I did. I collected Spider-Man. I collected just because it was cool to collect the mutant titles. I collected, X-Men, X-Factor, Excalibur. I've got some Excalibur in there. But also hit, some of the bigger teams like, Avengers and a few others. Fantastic Four. I collected here and there on Fantastic Four, but also like the Hulk. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, the people that are there every day taking care of the everyday stuff, you got to go with the street level guys, man, because they are the more relatable characters. Because it's Spider-Man stopping the mugger, it's Punisher obliterating the drug dealers, and it's Luke Cage and Iron Fist, Power Man and Iron Fist getting hired to take on the whatevers. I didn't invest in them, but I know they did. Heroes for Hire, so they take on the cases, and so it was a more they had more of an everyman feel. More so than like Captain America and a few others. Now, Cap is one of my all-time favorite comic book heroes. He is America. He is the epitome of what you want to be as a superhero. Righteous, honorable, trustworthy. Leader. So he's Captain America.
Yeah, he exemplified all that.
Yeah, exactly. But you got like I said, this purse snatchers and the stuff that you don't see Captain America patrolling the city and looking for crimes like that to stop.
He was the heavy. He was involved in the big stuff. The world threatening stuff.
He was the Dr. Dooms. He was the who else did he? There's so many people that there's so many people that he took on. Red Skull, Dr. Doom, the Avengers mostly, Dr. Doom. Fantastic Four, really, but I remember the Avengers had some tussles with the good doctor, the bad doctor. So he was, the Red Skull. He was, all these, world-threatening entities, villains.
Hydra.
Captain America was there. Hydra. Back in World War II, he fought the Nazis, and he fought along with Red Skull. He fought Hitler. I mean, Screaming Boy. We post a picture to our Facebook every 4th of July, and I post one to my personal Facebook every 4th of July. Captain America punching Hitler in the face. So happy 4th of July. Here's a picture of Captain, punching Hitler. So, but he doesn't jump on his Captain America motorcycle and patrol the streets and punch out the purse snatcher and the bank robber.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about these guys and you think about the hero aspect of it, no other hero that you really, you could think of comes to mind quicker than Spider-Man. Because, the Punisher, he kills people. I mean, so he's not really. He's your anti-hero. He's your.
Yeah.
He's your. He's your Han Solo. Your. Because he shot first. Han shot first. I will never say anything else. But he's your. He's a killer. So you don't really look to him to being the hero. And then your Daredevil did that, but then he's got a lot of different problems going on with Kingpin, the Hand. I mean, he fights ninjas for goodness sakes, and he's a lawyer too. So while he does that, he's got bigger things going on, And then you got Luke Cage and Iron Fist. They do it for money, or they did it for money. Then they joined the Avengers, things like that. But the one that's always out there, the one that's swinging, building the building, the one that you will do everything he can to help the little man, the common man, the working man, is none other than Peter Parker, Spider-Man.
That's right.
Now, he's the one that will sacrifice his personal life, his jobs, his love life, everything, his relationship with his aunt, his relationship with his friends. He will sacrifice everything so he can go out and he can try to make his, do his part to make the world right. So that kind of answers my first questions from me was, why Spider-Man? What makes me a fan of Spider-Man? And I guess that, I answered my own question because he is that guy. He's the one that he's the workhorse of the superhero community. So how long have you been I know you're a big Spider-Man fan. How long have you been a Spider-Man fan?
Oh, well, I can remember one of the first few comics I ever read, and I really wish I could find the issue. I can see a cover, but I don't think it is that cover. Seriously, dude, I even think I posted this to my Facebook a while, like maybe a couple years back. It's like one of the first comics I ever bought was a Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, okay? And there's a picture of, I don't think it's Gwen Stacy. It's some other lady. Mm-hmm. She's got blonde hair. She's kind of looking up in the, off the corner of the page. It's just her. It's this huge face, and she's got her hand to her mouth, like she's frightened with something. And if I remember correctly, there's like a bunch of Spider-Men all around her. I'll find the picture and post it. But that literally was like 1980. I want to say 82 or 83 that I had my hands on that comic.
Wow.
So we're talking 5 years old that I can remember. I can remember reading that comic, getting a hold of it. There was a battle in there with he's down on the docks doing something. And, of course, doing the street level thing where he's catching these guys in the act. I can't remember who's behind it. I don't know if it was Tombstone or if it was I don't even know if Tombstone was around at that point. But there was some big villain that had a hand in it.
Hammerhead, somebody, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And I didn't, I remember reading that, and I don't think it, changed my life or anything. I just remember that being my first Spider-Man comic. Okay, now when I really, really got into Spider-Man was, so just to be clear, this is kind of, we're on this, you do a pop culture podcast, I do the comic book podcast. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people that may be listening may not be familiar with the comics at all. All they may have watched are the movies or the cartoons. So me personally, it was comics first. I don't remember much about any cartoons, if any, because the last cartoons I can remember watching was in the early 90s with X-Men. Mm-hmm. And those are about the only Marvel cartoons I can ever remember actually catching. And, of course, as I went to college and things like that, cartoons kind of fell off the radar for me. They were still out there, like the Silver Surfer cartoon, things like that, but I don't remember watching any Spider-Man-related stuff. But now, when I became a fan of Spider-Man, that was probably in the, I would say, late 80s, and it was as It was as Inferno was going on. I can remember catching a bunch of those issues and getting involved in the massive crossover Inferno, and it kind of leaked over into Spider-Man. What was going on in Inferno was pretty much limbo, or hell on earth happened. That's probably the best way. Inanimate objects became demons. Demons were all over the place, and it was just I think it basically took over Manhattan. So all our favorite heroes in Manhattan had to deal with this insanity going on around them. I mean, people were being accosted by mailboxes. It was just insane, because these mailboxes were demons and stuff. But Spider-Man had to deal with the same thing. This was actually affecting him in some ways. So I think I had some issues of Amazing at that point, and of course they were doing the multi-crossover stuff between all the titles. They had Web of Spider-Man, they had Spectacular Spider-Man, they had Amazing, and then McFarlane comes on and they do just the adjective list. But McFarlane was doing some issues of Amazing Spider-Man that I clearly remember having to get. I was just like, okay, I've got to get these, and that was usually around the late 80s. So that's when I first really got into Spider-Man, enjoying what was being put out there. I have a run of Web of at that point in time. It was probably like 88 or 89, where it's just because I go down to People's News and I'd get that next issue. I had to read what was going to happen next. There was the Lobo brothers, these two werewolf guys, if I remember correctly. And Tombstone was in jail. Robbie Robertson was in jail. Tombstone was like blackmailing Robbie Robertson or something like that. It grabbed my imagination and captured my imagination. And I was okay. I can dig this. Now, of course, that led to me liking other properties at that point in time, X-Men. But really, I would say that Spider-Man might be my intro to comics. Because if he was the one I actually grabbed a hold of, that first comic that I ever had my hands on that I can remember, then that kind of started it. So and that's your typical fare. If you're a Spider-Man fan, Spider-Man's been around since the 60s. And
yes, he has.
We're 50 years out from that now. That's quite an accomplishment for a character like that to stay involved in pop culture that long. But yeah, there you go, man. There's my introduction to fandom. Now we have a deep question as to why Spider-Man, though.
Yeah.
Why is it Spider-Man? I mean, you want me to kick this off, or you got something you want to say first?
Kick it off, man.
I'll kick it off. I'll kick out the jams.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. Do it. Okay. I think number one, why Spider-Man is because he represents. I'd say he represents me and you in some way. He represents a lot of people in some way. The nerdy kid that is not the coolest guy around. He certainly does not have luck with women. He almost doesn't have luck at all. I mean, I can't remember who coined. What's that?
Well, you go ahead. You're going there.
I'm going the same direction. There's a term that's coined. I can't remember who introduced me to it. I don't know if it was you or if it was somebody else that we had on the podcast, or something called Parker Luck. I think you may have actually the first one that ever said that I had actually heard that about or heard that from. But yeah, Parker Luck is where this kid continues, no matter how hard he strives, he just keeps falling, and it's not falling on his face, but his life just doesn't go that well. So anybody, I think, can identify with that happening in their life. You're not usually handed everything you want on a silver platter.
Right.
But what happens with Peter is he gets these amazing powers. And they turn his life around. And there isn't too many people out there that I know now that would love to be able to do some of the stuff that he does. Swing through a city.
Right.
Super strength. He is spider sense to know when danger is going to happen. And to watch that happen to this character who was down on his luck most of the time, it's invigorating. Now we idolize somebody like Captain America. We look at Cap and we say, man, that guy he's got the physique, he's got the morals, he's got this, he's got that. But the other thing that he's got is the dude was like, I'm sure he was like near the end of his 20s going into his 30s when he became a superhero. Well, I think he did that going into the Army, but he was an adult. Was probably around, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he was more of an adult than Peter was, because
Absolutely.
he was 18, 19 years old, and then as he grew, he fought the entire war. So he was in his, close to his mid-20s when he, and on. So
I always looked at.
It's probably older than that because he was rejected so many times from the Army.
That's true. I always looked at Captain America as being he was the adult, the representation of what a perfect adult
absolutely.
would be.
Mature.
Peter Parker's, Peter Parker's not.
Responsible.
Right. Peter Parker is not.
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, I mean, that one of the biggest plot points in Peter Parker's, origin story is the fact that he is not responsible at one point, and it really has an impact on his life. So, again, everybody can identify with that. So I think Pete represents a lot of the comic book reading demographic. We're not, I don't know too many that were playing on the football team in 9th grade, 10th grade that were reading comics. Okay?
Right.
They're the jocks, they're the guys that the physical types. I'm not saying that was just never happened, and I'm just saying in my school it didn't happen. The nerdy guys were. The nerdy guys were having the discussion about Star Wars, comic books, and Star Trek, and all that.
Right. Yeah.
And that's who Peter Parker was. So, but now, dude, I mean, it's almost like a reversal of how we were brought up, how we examine the nerd culture compared to 20 or 30 years later down the line.
Absolutely.
It is like one of the hottest things out there. Did Spider-Man break any records? I don't know. I didn't look at any. I don't know if you saw any movie related news
the
or
newest
anything.
Movie?
Yeah.
I haven't really checked. So
okay.
I'm
it
sure
wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we got comic book movies breaking records left and right, and it just amazes me to sit here today and be on a podcast talking about how much nerd culture has taken over the world practically.
Mm-hmm.
It really has. Some of the hottest movie properties out there that people go see: Star Wars, Marvel movies. Okay, those two are probably some. You count those two, and so it's money, and it's impacting everybody. You go, if you probably talked to somebody 30 years ago and you said, "Do you know who Spider-Man is?" Most likely they would have known. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But if you would have asked them, "Okay, do you know who the Punisher is?" 30 years ago, you might have been on the order of like 30% people might know. But today, because of the way the comic book culture is blown up, dude, everybody knows who the Punisher is. It's fun to be in an age where I'm watching that happen. So, but yeah, Spider-Man, I'll tell you why Spider-Man, because by golly, we're all Spider-Man.
Yes. We could probably just end the podcast on that,
We are all Spider-Man. Good night, everybody.
We are all Spider-Man. Good night, and be good to each other. Wow. Yeah, absolutely, man, because, wow, I don't have anything else to follow that up with. That was incredible. I mean, it's so true.
Well, tell me about your first Spider-Man experience. Hey,
man,
was it movies? Was it cause what movies didn't really hit until
it was watching reruns of the
of
Amazing
the show?
Spider-Man show with Nick
and
Hammond.
Super Friends. Oh, wait a second, it's not Super Friends. What is it?
No, I'm talking about the live action show.
Wah,
Yeah, that
wah,
ran from 77 to 79. Yeah.
Was
we
it
had
good?
one web
I never
shooter.
watched a single episode. Never saw an episode.
It was awful. But
oh,
it was
no.
so good then. It was so good then. I mean, he had one web shooter, and it shot rope. It was it's so bad now, but it was so good because it was Nicholas Hammond. He played Peter Parker, and then of course you had J. Jonah Jameson in there. But then you had that's where it kind of went away because it didn't really have it had. I don't think it had Aunt May, or it didn't have Betty Brant. It didn't have it didn't have any of the people that you would imagine be in there. But I remember him fighting a lot of people in like Hong Kong. I mean, I'm being serious when I say this. Robbie Robertson was in there, but it only lasted for 2 seasons. But they would play the reruns, and I would watch them as a kid and just absolutely love it because May Parker was in there. She was only in there for 1 episode, and then I do believe Jesse. I think we have a caller, and I think I know who it is.
All right, well, hold on just a second here. Area code 740. I have no idea who this is.
I don't know who it is.
Go ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Who are we talking to?
Go ahead, Michael. The illustrious Michael K. Easton.
Oh,
Michael K. Easton.
Don't forget Jordan Lowe.
Jordan Lowe.
Hey, Jordan Lowe. Oh, my goodness. Is this a takeover?
And you're talking to 3-4 of the Ka-Pow podcast.
Holy crap. Are you guys... Wait a second. Now, are you guys...
This is a Ka-Pow podcast takeover.
It is. Are you guys recording tonight? You guys got to be recording tonight. You guys record on Friday.
Yeah, we just finished up doing a show about Spider-Man, if you can believe it, and we saw you guys were live, so we just had to jump in and see what you guys were chatting about.
Heck yeah, man!
Awesome, man.
Well,
so we have our friends from the Ka-Pow podcast, and we're super excited. So we have the existential question of, I guess you could call it that, of why Spider-Man. Jesse just beautifully explained to us, for him, why Spider-Man. But what makes us like Spider-Man? What makes us relate to Spider-Man? What makes Spider-Man...
Well, don't ask that part. No, wait a minute. You're assuming we like Spider-Man.
What? I don't have a clue what's going on.
Exactly.
What?
All right, now hold on. Okay, let me jump in. All right, Michael K. Easton, I know you're a Superman fan. Okay, you've been on the Source Material podcast, and we've discussed Superman at length. But do you have some love for Spider-Man?
Well, of course. He's the geeky, nerdy character that gets to put on a costume, and he gets to be himself when he finally pulls the mask over.
That's right. I definitely feel what he's saying there. How about you, Jordan?
Yes.
Spider-Man is not only my favorite comic book character, he is my favorite fictional character ever created.
Oh, wow.
I think Spider-Man just encompasses everything about being a hero, everything about, taking what you were given in life and making the best of it and doing things for others instead of yourself and being greater than what you were born with, and just taking it out there to the limit every day.
Very cool.
All right, now Cliff Barnes, we saved the most praise for last because I know you've got it all bottled up, and you've been even though you did a podcast tonight on it, you probably have more to go. How much love do you have for Spider-Man?
We're gonna start, Jesse. My love has no limits. Let me tell you.
Oh boy, I believe that. 100%. 100%.
Now, I have to be truthful. I was the only one that did not go see the movie.
What? You did not?
I did not, no.
Okay. All right.
They said there was only like a couple minutes of Iron Man, and I was out. I said, I'm not wasting my time or my hard-earned money on this.
Oh. But you missed it. I mean, like...
That doesn't surprise me.
There's
like,
so much
wait
more
for the
to it than just seeing the Iron Man, you know? It's a Spider-Man movie that Iron Man just happens to show up in.
There you go.
And that's why I didn't go see it.
Oh, so wrong. So wrong. But we're just we're relating to our first. We're also talking about when we first became Spider-Man fans. I remember playing. It was one of the toys that I always took with me to my grandparents, and they had it there forever. And I found it at my grandparents. It was my Secret War Spider-Man figure. Don't have the shield, but I had that. Had all the webbing rubbed off of him because the black paint would rub off of those figures. So he was just a solid red and blue Spider-Man. With
he was the Scarlet Spider.
He was a Scarlet Spider, and then so I remember playing with that. And I remember, do you guys? Does anybody remember the Amazing Spider-Man from 1977 to 79?
Are you talking about the live-action movie series?
The live-action series that Spider-Man only had one web shooter and it shot rope.
Yep.
That's what I saw
on TBS.
Yeah, watching the repeat, the reruns on TBS.
Yep.
Yes, sir. That's when I first, became that's when I first started really liking Spider-Man, man. That show will always have a special place in my heart. Even though it was, today's standards, it's pretty awful. But and then it went completely away from, the characters in the comic books to they made up characters for it. But it's special to me because that's when I first started really getting into Spider-Man. Then the comic book.
I have a quick question. Does anybody remember the Spider-Man Atari video game?
I do.
Yep.
That I can remember.
Cliff hates Spider-Man so much he had the arcade. He had the Atari game. Or I love Atari so much that I had the game.
Do you have okay, so this is the game where all it was just going completely up a building and trying to avoid bombs or something, and then when you reach the top, I can't even remember what happens when you reach the top. You would, I don't know if you won or if you had...
was at the top.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
and then
you were avoiding the pumpkin bombs.
Okay, all right. Now see, it's coming back to me now. Legitimately do not remember playing that game. It's been probably close to 30 years since I've maybe 30 years. Yeah, 87 since I played 88 or somewhere around then. But now, Ronnie, you talk about bad stuff that has fond memories. Yes, that is one thing that I can clearly remember where I was just like, man, this game sucks. But it was the only thing you had that you could play on a video game that was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We didn't have Maximum Carnage, which is our outro music, by the way. We didn't have, Super Nintendo Maximum Carnage or Genesis Maximum Carnage to play.
Yeah.
I do want to throw it back here. Michael K. Easton, do you remember your first Spider-Man, the first time you recognized or had your hands on something, whatever introduced you to Spider-Man? Was it the live-action series, or was it something before that? Was it comic books?
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, Iceman and Firestar.
I totally said that I did not remember cartoons involving Spider-Man, and I forgot about that one because we had Iceman and Firestar in that, and I clearly remember watching that on a black and white TV set in my bedroom. Now, that was a long time ago, and I don't know if that's what made me pick up the comic or vice versa. So Spider-Man and Amazing Friends. All right, how about you, Jordan Lowe?
I had some of the comics. I remember very specifically it was a reprint of the first appearance of the Lizard that I read time and time again, with him trying to turn everyone in America into lizard people. And I remember reading that one dozens and dozens of times. One of my earliest memories, though, I dressed up as Spider-Man for Halloween in maybe 2nd or 3rd grade. And it wasn't a store-bought costume. My mom made a costume out of, sweatpants, and she drew all the webs on it. She took the doily off the couch and, sewed it into the glove. So I could whip my wrist out and, throw a doily. But I was convinced no one would know who I was at the school function. If I didn't say anything, no one would know it was me under the mask. And when I walked in, I couldn't help myself. I said hi to this kid I knew. And then he walked around the whole night saying, that's Jordan in that mask, that's Jordan. And I hated that kid ever since.
How did you know my secret identity? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, Cliff, tell us how, I just want to know how the hatred started. I want to know how the hatred started.
I don't honestly hate Spider-Man. It's a joke that we've ran with.
What?
I just can't
don't peel back the curtain.
too many layers. I just never related to Spider-Man. He was a little too nerdy and dorky and
quit talking about me. Yeah, these two, we got the Peter Parker and Flash Thompson here with the cousins Michael and Cliff.
I had all the cool toys. Michael had to dig his up out of the dirt.
Wow. Well, Ronnie?
Yeah.
I think we've left him speechless.
Oh yeah. How do you follow this up?
A little bit.
You got some other questions for the Ka-Pow boys here?
Yeah. So we all know Spider-Man is the wisecracking, street-level, purse snatcher, bank robber hero, right? Not that he did those things. He stopped those people. But he's also a very tragic character as well. And I don't care if you hate him or you don't, but you have to agree that he's a very tragic character because he has gone through, off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody that's really gone through quite as much loss as Peter Parker. He is one of the characters in the Marvel Universe that he's had, one of his main characters has stayed dead over the years, and that's Uncle Ben. I think he's the only Marvel character, a character in the Marvel Universe that hasn't been resurrected. In the 616, just in other universes, he's alive. But he lost Gwen Stacy. I mean, his marriage was wrecked to the one that his true love, Mary Jane, which was a stupid storyline, involving Mephisto or whatever. But his marriage was wrecked. I mean, he's always had no money. So much, in fact, when he was invited to join the New Avengers, I remember the panel very well where Tony Stark and Captain America, where Iron Man and Captain America were going around inviting everyone, and to Wolverine, his line was, "We have beer," and Wolverine says, "I'm in," and then "We have this, I'm in." And then to Peter Parker, he says, "We have money." He goes, "Oh, thank God," So, and he was hugging Iron Man, and so he's a tragic character. Even when the Parker luck seems to turn around in the newer comic books, and he's a multi-billion multi-billionaire who runs his own company, everything, and nothing seems to really quite go right. You know, he lost a friend in Silver Sable, recently. You know, it seems like everybody around him dies or gets hurt in some way. So he's a very tragic character. And do you think that the Marvel Universe, and this is open to Jesse, this is open to all the Ka-Pow guys, do you think the Marvel Universe has is unjustly put him through too much pain, or does that make him the character that he is? Does that make Peter Parker / Spider-Man the relatable and character that you can get behind? Does it make him? Does it give him the character that we have today, Jesse?
Well, I hate to say that we want death and destruction on a character in any way, and that's not the case. But it adds a dimension to the guy. You know what I'm saying? It makes him. We all go through that loss. He's completely identifiable in some aspects, especially with, like someone losing a loved one, and having to deal with that. It's, in my opinion, I think that I'd love to see him turn around. They've been trying that in the comics. They've been trying to make it, him successful. I mean, I don't know if you've read any issues of Spider-Man lately, but it wasn't too long ago where there's Peter Parker Industries now. Something that, that you didn't see that coming. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I don't want to see this guy continually fall on his face. I want to see him be successful. I want to see him get married. I want to see him have a happy marriage. That's one thing that I hated about, them undoing the marriage. That was a big step backwards, in my opinion. There was a lot more that they still could have done with that character, but maybe they felt that they were limited. I'm going to let the Ka-Pow boys take over on this one because I know these guys know their comics as well. So please, I'll toss it over to Jordan. You sir, go for it.
I remember reading some old letters columns that people would write in because they loved Peter Parker so much. They would complain that Stan Lee is being too mean to Peter and putting him through too much trauma. And, not thinking that's where the drama comes from. You have to put his back against the wall and, put him in dangerous, hurtful situations for him to overcome those things. But people, there was always a sort of, Parker got it worse than anybody, and people would take it very personally when that happened. But I think it just goes back to that character, especially in the early Ditko years. He quit being a superhero every week. He was sick of it because things never went his way. He never came out ahead. So he was ready to just throw a suit in the trash and move on. But going back to that core value that he had, or was taught by Uncle Ben, that he couldn't just give up on this stuff. So that just shows his resilience that no matter what the world threw at him, he was going to buck up and get the job done.
Very good. Cliff.
No, I'm going to interrupt that. I'm going to take over before he trashes Peter.
Okay, go for it.
I think Spider-Man's tragedy is the greatness of that character because everyone else's life is going right but his, and all the tragedy that he sees or he experiences just makes him a better character because no matter what, every single time it can be the worst, he's still going to rise to the occasion. He's going to still try to do the best he can given the crappiness of his situation, and I think that actually makes him one of the most strongest, realistic Marvel characters that they've ever created. Now, Cliff can talk.
Okay. My thought is this. Now, you two, Jesse and Ronnie, are known professional wrestling fans, correct?
Correct.
Oh, yeah,
Correct.
brother.
Okay. I like that. Now, going with that thought, and if you remember back when Peter first got his powers and he decided he was going to be a professional wrestler, could you have not gotten behind that whole, if Peter had stuck with that and he went and wrestled the Macho Man and took him on, if that, instead of becoming a superhero and just living this life of pity and always playing the victim, wouldn't you rather him become the next Hulk Hogan or Macho Man or even Ric Flair and use his powers to entertain the masses for all these years?
Ronnie?
Jesse, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. All right. No. I'll go ahead. So the question is, would I have loved to have seen Spider-Man just make a run for the championship? All right. That's pretty much what you're asking me. Would I love to have seen him in the Federation, right? Cliff, am I getting that right?
Yeah, as a what-if story or an alternate. In another world, Spider-Man decided he was going to be the professional wrestler. In your life.
I'm itching to answer this because I'm about to express some absolute mind-defying nerddom here. Okay, all right. Now, in WWE 2K, which one was it, Ronnie? It was one where I think it was 2K10 or 2009. They introduced Create a Story mode. All right. Now, I had a story where this is legit. I didn't finish it, but this is legitimate. All right. Now, what you could do on WWE 2K or 2009, whatever it was, you could create your own character. So, you could watch YouTube videos, trust me, of like the Incredible Hulk versus Venom, people who created these crazy characters on there. And then they say, hey, guess what? Now you can create your own storylines. Albeit it was rather in-depth and you definitely needed a keyboard and there were some limitations, you could create your own storyline. Now, I had this storyline where this great dimensional storm opened up, all right? And just crazy crap started to happen. Non-fictional characters became real, or non-fictional. Hey, what do you think of that? Non-fictional characters. We'll try fictional characters. Fictional characters. Fictional characters became real, and all of a sudden, like, the battleground was the ring, the WWE ring, where, well, Vince McMahon wakes up, and even though all this crap hit the fan, the Undertaker's missing, the show's still got to go on. So here we have SpongeBob versus the Punisher. I mean, just crazy stuff's happening in there. So, I mean, it was this great story I had all mapped out about how the worlds were trading heroes and all these just comic book characters, literary characters were all coming together and fighting for, like, almost similar to what you see in Mortal Kombat, fighting for the Middle Earth or whatever you want to say. And they have to do it in the ring. Anyway, so yes, sir. Not only would I want to see that, I did have something like that at one point on my Xbox 360.
Okay.
Follow that up, Ronnie Adams.
So that was the wrong answer. Yes.
Yes.
So we've known for some time now that, kayfabe has completely been broken. So we know
you might want to explain what kayfabe is here, because
kayfabe is the wrestling term for
carny speak.
The story. It's carny speak. They have, just like you said, opened the curtain and revealed the back, and wrestling is predetermined.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say fake, because it is not fake, because these guys go through hell and back on their bodies and everything else. So definitely some respect there. So, no, I wouldn't want to see Spider-Man in that, because he would be completely wasted. He would, have all these magnificent powers, but in wrestling, it would come down to the booker. So even if it were like in a ring and it were not predetermined and they were fighting for a belt, boxing, UFC, or whatever, and he knocks the guy into the next row because he's super strong and possibly causes, some bodily harm, some wires and some casts and some neck braces and things like that, I would look and say, why is that guy a superhero? So my answer has to be no.
The story, I think, the Elseworld story that it would happen would have to be like Spider-Man having to figure out how to limit his powers and not break somebody's neck and, put somebody in a suplex and then try and make this crazy run. I'd love to see it, Ronnie Adams. I don't know where you're coming from. Well, you need to bring on your second half and ask that man as well. The second half of the Screaming Boy podcast has arrived, by the way.
Well, okay, yeah. He's not my second half. He's not my better half or anything like that. So let's just get that out in the open. He is the other chair on the Screaming Boy podcast. He is the one and only Adam Runyon. Adam Runyon, are you with us?
Hey, is Larry there?
Oh, Lord.
Larry?
No.
I'm just kidding. It is I, the other chair, although I've been sitting here for literally 45 minutes, but it's cool.
Hey, listen, we have...
Let's go all the way back to the beginning.
We have a takeover happening right now. We have, our guests from the Ka-Pow podcast, and, so, I mean, anything can happen. You can sit.
So what
are
you saying?
Minutes.
I don't want to look stupid. Is that don't make us look dumb? Is that what you're saying?
Don't ruin this, Adam. No, I'm kidding.
Don't fight him, bro.
But so, Adam, what was your first experience with Spider-Man? When did you first become a Spider-Man fan? Because I know you're a Spider-Man fan.
I am. My first experience is actually that of Jesse's, because he mentioned literally in the beginning when I got on here about Spider-Man was like my first foray into superhero nerddom, and I like him don't understand really why, except that Spider-Man was safe. You know what I mean? Like my parents knew that they could let me loose with Spider-Man, and it's not gonna, you're not gonna have anything that's gonna like mess you up too bad, even though the Punisher may be in it somewhere, but it's not like reading the Punisher. You know what I mean? It's not like you're in a full-fledged, Deadpool comic book. But it was fairly safe, and I think my first foray into Spider-Man was the cartoon. It wasn't the comic book. It was the cartoon on Fox 11. I used to watch that every Saturday morning. That and the X-Men cartoon.
Oh yeah.
My first experience with Spider-Man was all the crazy, and the thing is, my youngest son loves Spider-Man now, and he watches the same thing. In fact, we watched it this morning. We watched a couple episodes this morning about Mysterio, how Mysterio was like masquerading as Spider-Man and stealing all the crown jewels and stuff. It was cool, It's a safe thing,
Okay. So
not impressed, right? I know.
No.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt. Our runner just pulled up to take us on to the next party. Don't lie. Your phone was at like 4% because you forgot to charge it. Don't lie to the people. Hey,
well, guys,
my Uber is a limo.
I'm so glad you all came on. So you guys are more than welcome on anytime. And please, everybody, listen to the Ka-Pow podcast. It's amazing. These guys are fantastic. So go charge your phone.
Yeah. Hey, but real quick before we go, I just want to let everybody know that we have now some Ka-Pow, the Pop Culture podcast magnets we're giving away to a few of our Jessies. If you stop by the Silent Comics in Marietta, Ohio, or Second to None Graphics on 3rd Street in Marietta, Ohio.
Or you could mail one to Burlington, North Carolina.
Or we could do that.
Send
Awesome,
that to me right now on the Ka-Pow podcast messages, and we'll get that right out to you.
Oh my goodness, I'm kidding, guys. Thank you so much. You guys are a pleasure to have on here, and you're more than welcome on any time, and we appreciate you. All right.
Have a good night, guys.
Would they miss
Later, guys.
They miss their Uber?
Have
or
a good
something?
night, guys.
Later on, they missed their Uber or something.
Uber is
going to a party or something.
Yeah. I don't think Uber runs here in Marietta. Trust me, I've looked.
If it runs here, you run there in Marietta.
Dude, it's a perfect chance for you to be the Uber driver.
The Uber driver. I'm going to try.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to try Uber. Have either of you guys tried Uber yet?
Have not.
No, but I know people who have made a killing. I know people who
Really?
have made a killing at it. Yeah,
I'm thinking about. I was going to say I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it if I go to this concert in Pittsburgh, I've got to park somewhere. And I'm thinking about parking someplace, either a Walmart or something like that that's in a good neighborhood, and then calling an Uber to take me to the stadium. So I'm honestly, hey, I've got my wits about me. But
dude, you can be like, dude, you call Uber Black. They're the ones that have like the limousines and the town cars and the really, really like the BMW M3s and M5s.
My wife would love to see something like that show up on the credit card statement.
Hey, you know who never took an Uber?
Who's Uber Black? Black Uber.
You know who never took an Uber?
It's me, baby.
Adam.
Who never took an Uber?
Spider-Man.
I've never taken an Uber.
Spider-Man.
Oh,
look at him
true.
trying to turn it around.
Yeah.
Spider-Man has never taken an Uber.
Pay attention to me.
Although I will say that Superman has probably taken an Uber just to hold up, keep appearances up.
I want to take an Uber to your house right now, and
please do, man. I miss you.
Yeah, I know. Oh wow, that was awkward. I like
so much
going back to
what?
Going back to what you said that Spider-Man is safe. I can remember some storylines where that were not so safe for Spider-Man. Though.
Yeah,
and going along with his tragic, the characteristic that he has of being a tragic person, having all this tragedy in his life. I remember that he was fighting the Lizard, Kurt Connors, and trying to bring him back from trying to keep him from crossing that line from humanity into savage, being a savage animal, and crossing the line into becoming the Lizard and not having that dual personality. But it ended up that Kurt Connors, in the end, ate his own son.
Yeah, dude.
See that? Yeah, that wasn't in the cartoon.
Oh, I read. This just happened recently, right? Like within the last.
Was pretty recently, yeah.
Within the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I read that storyline. I was actively reading Spider-Man at that time, and the storyline was called Shed. Yep. And I remember it wasn't explicit, like it wasn't like, oh yeah, here he is, he's chomping on his bones or anything. But
right.
It was like, where's this kid? What happened to his kid? Because I probably said that out loud as I was reading the end of that story.
Oh, you knew what happened to his kid.
Yeah, you did. But it was inferred, kind of like, oh crap, no. I want to cover that on source material at some point because that really had me.
Yeah. So
that's the first episode.
Look at that.
That's the first episode on the cartoon. That's literally the first episode, and it's exactly like you described.
He doesn't eat his kid.
But he doesn't eat his kid, right? Like he kind of, and I don't think he actually saved the Lizard from becoming the Lizard. I think it was just one of those things. He takes him to the zoo, and they kind of fight around in the zoo, and he goes off somewhere, and that's it. That's kind of how it ends.
So you look at things like that, and being Peter Parker, he carries the guilt of that with him. He carries the guilt of Uncle Ben being shot with him every day. He he carries the guilt of accidentally killing his own girlfriend. Green Goblin threw Gwen Stacy off of the building, right? Or off of the bridge. He goes to save her, hits her with a web line, and when he pulls it, it snaps her neck.
Oh, man.
So not only does the consequences of his actions of being a jerk, getting paid and not stopping the burglar in that robbed the box office of the wrestling that he was involved in. He didn't stop him, and that thief goes on to kill Uncle Ben. He accidentally caused the death of his own girlfriend. He is involved in the death of Norman Osborn. So Harry Osborn is his best friend. So the actions of them fighting caused Norman to be impaled by, and this is not in the movie. This is actually in the comic books as well. It was in the movie. It was in Sam Raimi's movie as well. But he just recently lost Silver Sable. The Black Cat has gone off her rocker in the newer issues, and he feels guilty about that. He carries the guilt of ruining his own relationship and happy life with Mary Jane. He carries more guilt than a Southern Baptist and a Catholic combined. And it's one of those things where and that's where I can almost get behind those people that wrote into Stan Lee or wrote into Marvel Comics saying, for God's sakes, just give Parker a break. And when they do give Parker a break and make him multi-billionaire and give him his own Parker Industries, and he's Spider-Man on the side. He has all these cool gadgets and cool new web shooters and everything else. He didn't create any of it. He's living off of the hard work of Dr. Octopus, who was in his body at the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, from Superior Spider-Man. Wow.
All that was created by Dr. Octopus, who saw the potential that Parker had and just said, screw all these people. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to, get money and make my own, do this and find a girl of my dreams. And I don't really care what anybody thinks of me. Whereas Peter Parker cares what everybody thinks and cares about people so much that, like I said, he has sacrificed his personal life, his professional life, his love life. He's sacrificed everything about himself to be a superhero. So that's why I think he's a tragic character. And I think that's why, more people relate with him because they're like, oh my gosh, there is so much drama in his life. You want him to come out on top. You want him to find the girl. You want him to finally just be rich and of his own, find value in himself to have some sort of progress in life that he can call his own. So you're pulling. Not only do you relate with him because he's a street level guy, not only do you are you enthralled by the drama, but you also cheer for him. You want the best for him because you can't help but want the best for him because nothing goes right in his life. His arch nemesis, J. Jonah Jameson. His aunt ends up marrying J. Jonah Jameson's father. So, not only does this man hate Spider-Man, but now Peter Parker has to be, his stepbrother.
Let me give you a little bit of light on the character of J. Jonah Jameson, just in what we were about to cover on source material. Now, Ronnie, I don't know if you had a chance to read the two issues that we were going to discuss on that show, but I can tell you we were looking at stuff from the Gauntlet, which occurred, I think, in 2010, and there were just two small issues that we were going to cover regarding the Vulture. But really, the Vulture was almost I'd say he was a primary character in that storyline, but J. Jonah Jameson was probably just up there as well in that storyline, and I'll tell you why. This is what speaks to J. Jonah Jameson's character and how much. I mean, he doesn't know Peter Parker's Spider-Man, but
right.
You know, Peter Parker has had to put up with a bunch of crap from JJJ just because he's Peter Parker and he's JJJ. In that 2-story arc, the Vulture goes after J. Jonah Jameson because he believes this is a totally different Vulture than we're used to. This is a almost like a mutated human, has actual wings and crazy looking jaw. But anyway, he goes after Jameson, thinking that Jameson was the one that created him. And he wants to revenge because this guy didn't, the Vulture is in this horrible state and he doesn't want to live and he wants to take revenge on whoever created him. So he goes after Jameson, and Peter Parker is as Spider-Man, is hot on the trail. He attacks Jameson, and all this crap, goes on, and the press gets wind that Jameson is supposedly behind. Jameson, who, by the way, is the mayor of New York City at this point in time. But press gets wind of it and says, oh, man, press gets wind that he may have created the Vulture. Oh, you're responsible for a criminal, blah, 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 blah. Well, in the midst of the fight where Spider-Man shows up and Vulture's attacking Jameson, the Vulture leaves. Jameson gets away unscathed. And to try and stop public from attacking Jameson, Peter Parker doctors some photographs to make it look like Jameson was fighting back against the Vulture. Even though it didn't happen, he put Jameson in this picture kicking the Vulture, released it to the press so the press would be like, oh, well, clearly he doesn't have anything to do with the Vulture in any way. He's fighting against the person. Why would he, they certainly wouldn't be fighting if they were in cahoots. So Jameson calls this press conference, sits everybody down and says, I want to thank everybody for being here. He brings Peter Parker up on the stage, and Parker's thinking, well, he's going to thank me for the fact that I've helped him out and got him out from under the fire of the press, and that's what he's going to do. So he sits down and he says, I want to thank everybody for being here, and he brings up the photograph, and he says, unfortunately, this photograph is clearly doctored, and fires Parker and says, you are blacklisted. You'll never work at any other publication ever again. Right there in front of everybody at this press conference. That is the relationship between Peter Parker and JJJ. JJJ was always on his crap all the time. And of course, I don't think it was just Peter. It was more so Peter because that's what we saw. But he was a jerk to just about darn near everybody. But the thing is that imagine that. This guy you grew up with as your boss, now he's the mayor. You just saved his butt from possibly getting impeached or some kind of crazy crap. All this heat from the press, and then he turns around and turns it over on you, fires you on stage, calls you a liar, which unfortunately he was. And that was the end of that 2-story arc. Peter Parker's like, well, what am I going to do now? Parker luck. And another great representation of just how Jameson and Parker never really got along.
Very
and
good.
I turn it over to
absolutely.
you.
Well, I mean,
long awkward silence.
No. I mean, that's perfect because, I think we've listed all of the reasons of why Spider-Man. Because he's relatable, he's dramatic, he's funny, and you just want him to succeed no matter what, because he never does, not really. He may be able to buy fancy cars and everything, but is he really happy? No. Because money don't buy you love, son. But anyway.
My pappy done told me.
My pappy done told me.
Yeah,
hello,
but
baby,
about a lot
hello,
of cool
mother.
stuff, and that's the same thing, right?
Yeah, we'll
right.
go with that, Adam.
It buys me a pretty sweet computer, right? Wait.
Yeah. So if you talk to all the sweet people online.
Hot chicks.
Let's talk about
little hot chicks.
Let's talk about the Spider-Man movies real quick. let's talk about the first three that we remember. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, and Spider-Man 3. So with these ranked, it would have to go Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 1, and a far distant microscopic Spider-Man 3. Oh my gosh, Spider-Man 3 was just awful. But we saw some really good character renditions of Spider-Man characters in there. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson was just incredible. I think that he made a fantastic J. Jonah Jameson. If they could, I think they should use him. I know they won't, but I know there's going to be a Spider-Man Homecoming sequel, but they need to use him as J. Jonah Jameson, but they can't because he is now Commissioner Gordon. But I thought he was great. I thought Tobey Maguire made an adequate, a good Peter Parker, and the stuntmen made really good Spider-Man. Kirsten Dunst was there. She definitely was there in the movies.
She was there.
And in the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, I don't think you could have found a better one.
Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe, creepiest man in the world when he wants to be. Phenomenal actor. I think the shining star of the whole series is going to be Dr. Octopus.
Yes,
help me out. For some reason, I can't remember the actor's name. Alfred Molina. Alfred Molina is Doc Ock. I think he was the shining star in that whole series. And I think the one that and the one a close second is going to be Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman. I thought he did a great job as Sandman. I think the one that everybody farted on rightfully and kind of deserves his place in last place was Topher Grace as Venom. I thought that was ridiculous. So those three movies. Sam Raimi.
You didn't like that? You didn't like that?
No, I didn't. Did you?
I'm kidding. No, I liked it about as much as I liked emo Spider-Man. So.
Okay, thank you. The whole emo dance scene Spider-Man thing. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. So Sam Raimi is a good director, but he definitely has his own way of directing things. It was very campy, it was a comic book movie through and through, but it was very campy. It was very stylized. That goes along with the rest of his work. If anybody remembers it was, if not his first, but one of his first movies. I think it was his very first. Was Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead. Lots of point of view camera work. Funny, campy, shaky cameras. Things like that. He's very good at what he does. Was he the right choice for the Spider-Man movies? For the first one, yes, I think he was for this style. And as it goes along, I just think somehow, it just the writing was just awful. So it kind of suffered for that. Would you all agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely would. Absolutely.
Adam?
Yes, I would. Absolutely.
So the next up is the Amazing Spider-Man series. The two movies, Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2, starring Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. And then you had, I thought she made a wonderful May Parker, who was Sally Field.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I thought she was great in that role. The Amazing in both movies. I thought Andrew Garfield made a really, really fantastic Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Emma Stone is amazing in everything she does. I love her. And then, of course, Martin Sheen as Uncle Ben. At first I was a little put off by that. I was like, Martin Sheen, really? But man, he did really good as Uncle Ben.
He didn't do too bad. He did pretty good.
Yeah. So, and then you had Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this was my daughter's introduction to Spider-Man in the theaters. Was Amazing Spider-Man 1. So that was, it was fun to go watch that with her. I mean, what year did you say that came out? 2009?
2012.
Oh, wow. Man. That was one of my biggest criticisms about comic book movies, was because we only had... This is funny because we're talking Spider-Man Homecoming now. But,
right.
Back then I was like, what property reboots itself within less than 10 years of the last one coming out? I was like, why can't we get stuff right? And that was, Amazing Spider-Man 1, 2, or excuse me, Spider-Man 1 and 2. Spider-Man 1 came out in 2001, 2002, somewhere around there.
2.
And then 2002. And then 10 years later, we're doing Amazing Spider-Man. And that was, to me, I felt that was unheard of. Rebooting a movie franchise within 10 years. Then 2012, it's 2017. We have a completely brand new Spider-Man franchise on our hands. So it's been rebooted 3 times. Well, I say rebooted. I mean, are we going to count Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man, as a reboot? I would assume not.
No.
Okay.
Because it was one of the. It was. You name me another huge Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, it's been rebooted twice in 15 years. A franchise has been rebooted twice in 15 years. I was like, hey, let's let a new generation maybe check it out instead of the same generation dealing with a reboot, and give it some time, do something with it. I just couldn't believe it. But continue, Ronnie. We're talking Amazing Spider-Man 1.
Amazing Spider-Man 1. I thought it was We're going straight into Amazing Spider-Man 2. Of course, we had in Amazing Spider-Man 1. We had the Lizard, Kurt Connors. He did a great job. I think as far as villains go, that was kind of an interesting choice to go with the Lizard the first time around.
It was the first time I really ever criticized the movie because of special effects and CGI. I didn't like the Lizard.
Yeah.
I did not like him at all because it was complete CGI character. I didn't like it.
Right. I get that. I really do. But you've got... There's only so much they can do.
Yeah, I know, dude.
But
I mean, if you would have showed me that movie...
some of it was motion capture, though. A lot of it was motion capture.
If you would have showed me that movie back in 2002... clearly, I would have been like, "Oh my gosh," And we had the iconic, moments that happened in Pete's life. Up to that point, I don't even think, what's her name, Drew Carey. What the heck?
What?
What was Spider-Man's Emma Stone? Who'd she play? Help me out. Why can't I remember the name of that character?
Gwen Stacy?
Gwen Stacy, not Drew Stacy.
Drew
Gwen
Carey.
Stacy.
That's
Drew Stacy.
Peter Parker and
Gwen
Drew Carey.
Anyway. I think that was the first time she'd appeared in the movies, right? So.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had some good moments in there. I just couldn't. And then when Drew Carey showed up, I was like, okay, I'm out of here. Come on, Kira.
Yeah, I'm done.
Cleveland Rock.
Cleveland Rock, let's go home. I think having Dennis Leary as Captain Stacy in that was great. I thought he did a great job. But I'm a Dennis Leary fan. Go on to Amazing Spider-Man 2. Of course, we have Electro. I'm not a big fan of Jamie Foxx being Electro, or wasn't until I saw the movie.
Still
and I was
have not watched that movie. I have not watched that movie.
Why? I mean, it's just because you haven't gotten around to it, or are you boycotting it?
I have it. I actually have a copy of it, but it's not because I'm boycotting and taking a stand. I was just like, I'm I'm not interested. I don't know why I wasn't interested in that one. I think I caught a little bit of it because we got it from the red box, and I for some reason I couldn't watch it, but the kids were watching it. So I've caught bits and pieces, but I've never sat down and fully gave it a good viewing.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I would hope so, at least.
Okay.
It's or at least going, okay, let's see what people see in this. I think it was unnecessarily bashed by critics and people alike. I thought it was really good. I thought it, it was definitely better than Spider-Man 3. I mean, let's put it that way. Definitely
out of the 5
better
movies we've talked so far, was it number 4?
No, I'd say, let's see. Out of the 5 movies we've talked so far, I would put Amazing Spider-Man at number 1.
Really?
I would put I'd put Spider-Man at number 2. Or no, I'd put Spider-Man 2 at number 2, Spider-Man at number 3. A tie for 3 with Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Okay.
And then
number 5, a distant number 5.
Well, I don't even. I think
Spider-Man 3.
We only talked about 4 movies. Anyway, yeah. But a lot of people. I mean, I get why they can't use Andrew Garfield. I thought he was a great Peter Parker. I really did. I thought he captured that whole. But he might have been a little too cool, to be Peter Parker. But I get why they can't use him because he's 30 years old. So I mean, he's only getting older, so he can't be the young Spider-Man that they want. So we come into 2017, but before that, we are introduced to a new Spider-Man in Captain America: Civil War. Tom Holland is playing a new Spider-Man that we see briefly in Captain America: Civil War. And then, Tony Stark yells, "Underoos!" calls for him. He comes back out. He takes Cap's shield, and then they all fight. And then we are introduced to Spider-Man: Homecoming, which I think is a brilliant title that they played into the movie. Brilliant title because for the longest time, Sony has had the movie rights to Spider-Man. So Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 were all Sony pictures. While Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 I thought were great, or were really good. We'll say was really good. Spider-Man 1 was good. Spider-Man 2 had some really great points in it, and it was a good film. Spider-Man 3 is complete and utter poop. Sony has largely failed at making a Spider-Man movie. So everybody's saying, please, Sony, do something. Give the rights over or partner with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel Pictures, and let them make a Spider-Man movie, which is what they did. Sony and Marvel have kind of teamed up in this movie, if I'm not mistaken. And they have introduced Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because in Spider-Man: Homecoming, you see references to Civil War. You see references to the Chitauri attacking in the first Avengers movie. You see all this stuff that's going on. And so you are fully immersed into the Marvel Universe in this movie. And while it being still a Sony movie, Marvel says, no, okay, it's your car, but let us drive it. And they drove that car the best it's ever been driven in its entire creation with Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man: Homecoming introduces to a brand new 15-year-old Peter Parker who Tony Stark has taken under his wing because, of course, Peter Parker is brilliant, is a genius. Tony Stark finds him, knows that he has his spider powers, that he's fighting crime on his off time. He gives him a brand new suit, which has something called the training wheels protocol in it, which only allows him to do so much with the suit. He has a best friend named Ned, who is absolutely, I think he's hilarious in this movie. He's going through the same Parker stuff that he's going through. They've changed some of the characters from the comic books into, they've just changed the characterization, of some of them. Flash is now, I think he's not the stereotypical jock bully. He is also intelligent, but he's still a bully, and he still picks on Peter Parker by calling him Penis Parker. So yeah, exactly. And we also have, I think we're introduced to Liz Allen. We are introduced to Betty Brant. We have all these people in this. I can't remember what the school is called, but it's more of a science and technology high school than it is any. It's where all the nerds go to high school. All the really super smart kids. Now, there's a lot of Easter eggs that you might miss in the background of the school, because you see, and I can't remember his name because it's German, but you see the first doctor, the doctor that created the super soldier serum for Captain America, and you see Tony Stark's dad. You see pictures of him in the background of the school, like on a mosaic. In Peter Parker's classroom, you see all these great scientists. The pictures above the chalkboard and above the blackboard in the back, and you go through all these scientists of all this time. You see Newton and Ronnie M. Stupid because he can't remember scientists. Who's the dude with the crazy hair?
Einstein.
Einstein, good God! So you see Einstein, you see all these pictures of all these scientists, and then at the end, very end,
Drew Carey. It's called Drew Carey disease.
Drew Carey. At the very end of these pictures, you see a picture of Dr. Bruce Banner.
No.
So all these great scientists, So of course you see Tony Stark, and in his Iron Man suit, and he's helping guide our young Peter Parker through his newfound hero status. And the whole time, Peter Parker thinks he's, being, trained to join the Avengers. He is happy. Happy is, Tony Stark's driver / bodyguard. He is the thorn in Happy's side. Because he keeps calling Happy, saying, "Hey, when am I going to join the Avengers? Hey, what are we doing? When's the next mission? Blah 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 blah." So we have Spider-Man: Homecoming. Spider-Man: Homecoming. They finally let Spider-Man come home to the Marvel Universe. So it's Homecoming. There's also a Homecoming dance in it. They can say all they want about, oh no, it's referencing that. No, it's referencing Spider-Man coming home. And being able to be a part of the Marvel Universe again in the movies, which I think is brilliant. But you have Tom Holland as Peter Parker. Tom Holland is smart, funny, the right age. He looks like he's 15, even though he's probably I think he's 19, 20. And he is an excellent Peter Parker, an excellent Spider-Man. It doesn't hurt that he's shown up recently at children's hospitals wearing the Spider-Man suit and taking selfies with kids and taking his mask off, saying, "Hey, I'm Peter. Hey, I'm Spider-Man. Hey, I'm Peter Parker." And so he kind of has fully immersed himself into this role, just like Chris Evans has done with Captain America. He's done the same thing, and Chris Pratt has done with Star-Lord. So I think he's doing very well with that. So I think they've made a good choice in the reboot, even though it's a very, very, very early reboot. He's young enough, he's good enough, and he really gets the role. We also have a new May Parker.
Kamina.
Our new May Parker is incredibly hot. And it's
if
just
you
not
think
right.
so.
It's Marissa, right? Marissa Tomei?
It's Marissa Tomei.
Oh,
Marissa Tomei.
Oh.
She's so hot. And and Tony Stark
She's
is
52
always
and amazing.
She's gorgeous, and Tony Stark is always talking about her and hitting on her and flirting with her, and I think it's hysterical. It's a little different from the comic books, but it works. The only thing that I've ever had a problem with is the girl that is the rebel throughout the movie that's always, kind of picking on Parker and his best friend Ned and saying, she doesn't really care. It doesn't matter, flipping him off, doing whatever. And her name is Michelle. But at the end of the movie, she says, and she's got dark hair, and she's kind of like, she doesn't care. She's kind of tomboyish. And at the end of the movie, they say, well, she goes, my name is Michelle, but all my friends call me MJ.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was really enjoying the whole movie. And inside, my heart died a little when she said that. And I went, boo. Because I don't want her to be Mary Jane. I don't want her to be MJ.
Well, here's
I'm sorry.
the thing. Okay, MJ stands for Mary Jane. Everybody's calling her Michelle.
Right.
I was confused. I was like, because this isn't a spoiler, ladies and gentlemen, because if you are on the internet, you knew who the new Mary Jane was going to be. And throughout the whole movie, the good thing is, the positive thing is that they did not, she was not a significant part of this movie. I remember, as I was watching it, I was like, I thought she would be all over this movie. That is not the case. So it's funny how they kind of try and, I don't understand how Michelle figures into it, because I don't know if that's her middle name, or they're just trying to be goofy and say, no, it's not Mary Jane, it's Michelle Jane. No, I don't think so.
Right.
Go ahead.
It just seems too forced and too tacked on. Just like in The Dark Knight Rises, when they were like, oh, you should go by your actual name. What is it? Robin. Boo. Boo, boo, boo.
Yeah, that was kind of cheesy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. No. Don't even. So,
hey,
I mean, that's just
one of the more pleasant things that we can absolutely tell our listeners is that you don't get another origin story, ladies and gentlemen.
No,
congratulations.
You don't. I was actually going to hit on that. You do get
not.
an origin story. You get thrown right in the fray. He is Spider-Man. He has his suit. He is flipping and flopping and flying through the city on his webs, and he doesn't have to learn to
all over the place.
He's Dusty Rhodes. He's flipping and flopping and flying. And he doesn't have to learn to swing on his webs. He doesn't have to learn that he can climb walls. He just does it. In fact, he breaks up a bank robbery, and he jumps in there, and he just goes to work on these guys. And he's throwing out quips and jokes, and he's webbing people's faces to walls and hands to walls, and it's funny, and it's a lot of action, and you don't have to go through the whole awkward phase of an origin story. This is just right in there, in your face. He is Spider-Man. Now, there's a lot of other Easter eggs we can talk about as well that you have to, if you haven't seen the movie, we're not giving anything away. You know that the villain is Vulture. But what you don't know is that if you keep an eye out, you'll also see Shocker, which is a Spider-Man villain. You'll see the Tinkerer, which is a Spider-Man villain. You will see the Prowler, which is a Spider-Man villain / hero. And it's not the Prowler. It's not Hobie Brown, the one we're used to. It is the Ultimate Prowler, Ultimate Universe Prowler. And you kind of get a Miles Morales shout-out in there. You get a shout-out to the Scorpion. So they've got all these different villains that they can play with in the future, that you don't have to go back to Dr. Octopus. You don't have to go back to the Green Goblin. You don't have to go back to all this. You've got so many more people that you can play around with in this that it can set up 6 movies if you wanted to. So if you're watching it there is a young man who tries to buy weapons off of the Vulture's men, and Spider-Man tracks him down. He tries to intimidate him. He webs his hand to the trunk of the car, and the guy says, "Hey, I need to know, Spider-Man, I need to know who you're buying guns from." And the guy's like, "You haven't really done an interrogation before, have you? You're not intimidating in the least." And so, it's a funny little scene where Spider-Man says, "Hey, listen, I'm just trying to help people. I'm trying to keep people from getting killed. Can you help me out?" And he helps him out. He goes, "Yo, I've got a nephew that lives here, a couple of blocks from here. I want to watch out for him too." So in the Ultimate Universe, where Miles Morales started as Spider-Man, Miles Morales' uncle was the Prowler. And so that's if you look at the guy's name, everything matches up. So you get a little Miles Morales shout out along with the Prowler in that.
Nice.
Because you don't pay Donald Glover just to do like a 30-second scene with, he's going to come out.
He's going to be
the
important.
Prowler at some point. Yeah, he's going to be important. So you also get to see a little Captain America with these little PSAs he does in the school, which is really funny. So it's got all the elements in there, and it comes together, and it does very well. I don't want to give anything away about the storyline. They do change some things from the comics and the cartoons, and definitely they've left the other movies in the dust. But Spider-Man Homecoming, if you're a Spider-Man fan, there is tragic parts. There are hilarious parts. There's so much action. You do get a little Tony Stark for all you RDJ fans out there. He's not, but for all you people that are not RDJ fans or want to see Spider-Man stand on his own, you do get to see Spider-Man stand on his own. Robert Downey Jr. doesn't steal the show. It's not an Iron Man movie where Spider-Man shows up in like Batman versus Superman was. This is a Spider-Man movie, and he just happens to be a supporting character in it. You get a hot Aunt May, and you get all these elements, and it comes together, and they do so well with it. And it is, to round out our Spider-Man show, it is a fantastic, fantastic new Spider-Man movie. Is it a little too soon to be a reboot? It's so different from the others, Jesse.
I hear you, man.
I get what you're saying. I really do, but it's so different.
The only thing I'm criticizing is the fact that we have to do a reboot. That we have to. I'm not saying that it's unnecessary because I think, honestly, there is a good argument as to why it is necessary. Number one, so we can fold Spider-Man into the Marvel Universe in some way. Oh, my goodness, did we need that? Wow, did we need that? So I certainly don't, hold any grudge against the fact that they did this. I think it's warranted. It's just it's sad we didn't get it right the first time, or sad we didn't try again. It seems like there's so much that was left from the Amazing Spider-Man movie universe that just was unfulfilled. If I remember correctly, there's like an after credit scene in Amazing Spider-Man 1 that I don't know if it gets resolved or even is alluded to in part 2. But that's never going to be done if that's the case.
Because in part 2, Harry Osborn is becoming a goblin-esque creature.
Yeah, okay. All right. Don't think so. Thanks, Marvel. I appreciate it.
That wasn't Marvel. That was Sony.
No. I appreciate Marvel taking over here and getting getting Spider-Man right now.
Right. So there are So you think of Green Goblin, you think of Doc Ock, you think of all these people that are now larger than life because of these movies, because of the characters or the comic book characters, because of they're the ones that are the go-to guys in the video games, the cartoons, the movies, and everything. But when you get down to it, nobody really thought of the Vulture. The Vulture's and Michael Keaton is brilliant in this role. Brilliant.
Yeah.
You also see that why he became a villain was because of a brand new team has been introduced in Spider-Man: Homecoming to the Marvel Universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that is Damage Control, which I think is fantastic. These are just the guys that come along and clean up everything when the superheroes trash New York. They come and they fix it. So Damage Control is introduced in this, and then Michael Keaton is brilliant. But look at all the characters. Like I said, okay, the three guys that Ox, Montana, and something Dan. I can't remember his name. You had the big dude was Ox, and you had Montana who had the whip, and then you had something Dan with the guns. And they fought
Lieutenant Dan?
Spider-Man. Not Lieutenant Dan.
He had the guns, he just didn't have the legs.
Right, which rendered him...
Lieutenant Dan, you don't have no legs.
Oh, Lord. It is getting late. But so
I got the guns,
you see Montana,
baby.
Montana is in there. So you got so many guys that are more street level to contend with. So I think that's fantastic. I think that they've done an excellent job at setting up Spider-Man, Homecoming to have a sequel and to have a bigger role in the Marvel Universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe, because he is in Avengers: Infinity War.
Oh boy.
So. Jesse, do you have any final thoughts on our Spider-Man potpourri grab bag discussion tonight?
No, man. It's, again, I cannot. I love the age that we live in where nerds are taking over the world. It's the greatest thing to ever see. And Peter Parker is, I think, at least a tidbit of the genesis of that. So
absolutely,
if anybody listening to this podcast leaves with one thing, I believe that you need an understanding of this character's creation taking place 50 years ago and going through all the changes that it has throughout the years has cemented itself in the zeitgeist. I'll use a word called zeitgeist. I really don't understand totally what it means, so correct me if I'm wrong.
I was going to say, do you know what it means?
But yeah, no, I think it's
here.
No one's going to call me out because they don't know either. It cemented themselves in the zeitgeist of popular culture, and it's done nothing but assist in the fact that the little guy, the small guy, Spider-Man has probably influenced some of the greatest minds of this earth, just because of the trials, the tribulations, and the power and the responsibility that this man has had throughout his fictional career. Okay. Other than that, that's it. I'm done. I turn it over to Adam.
I'm just glad that we got a good Spider-Man movie. I've yet to see it, but we're cool.
Yeah,
no, but
you'll like it, dude. It's pretty good.
Well, I'm really excited about this one because, like you guys were mentioning, Marvel took over, and it's one of those things. It's such an obvious solution for the. I've never really been a huge fan of the Spider-Man movies, to be honest. I saw the first two, and then after that, I was like, these aren't like the Spider-Man that I remember, and I don't want to taint my view of Spider-Man by watching, suboptimal movies. So I just never saw them, But this one I'm really excited for because Marvel took over, and all I can say is it's about freaking time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all I can sit here and say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's playing down here at the theaters, and I've contemplated taking my 3 and 5-year-old, but then I think, it's PG-13. I can't justify taking a 3-year-old to see Spider-Man. So I'll probably just wait for it to come out on.
Because you're not trying hard enough.
I know. Well, I can justify it, but I don't think my wife feels the same.
Let me just say that trying justifying whatever. You're not going to walk out of that theater with a fun experience. Not taking two kids,
I know.
especially a 3-year-old to oh, dude, that's rough. That's a tough thing to do.
Well, I wanted to see it, and honestly, it was like, okay, because we took him to see a movie a couple of weeks ago. We ended up seeing Despicable Me 3, which is hilarious, by the way. And I wanted to see Spider-Man Homecoming, but I was like, man, I can't do it. Like, I don't know if it was like the nerd in me was just like, yeah, let's go watch Spider-Man. But the dad in me was like, oh, come on, dude. Really? I'm going to make fun of you the whole time, and I'm going to criticize you for taking your 3-year-old to a PG-13 movie. But you know, back to the movie thing. It's like I'm just glad that we finally got a movie that does justice to Spider-Man. Although I will say he looked rather young in this movie, like a lot younger than Peter Parker.
Oh yeah, they just keep getting younger, dude.
Yeah, it's like
Peter Parker was only
you're
about
gonna have
16
Spider.
when he...
You're gonna have Spider Baby. You know, you're gonna have this toddler. You know, flying through the air with. No, I'm kidding. It's late.
So, Peter Parker was only about 16, 17 when he got his powers.
Right.
Anyway, though.
Right, and that's what I was going to mention was I did some I just went back and did some research because I just started reading the like the comics, the original comics. You mentioned earlier, Ronnie, where Aunt May married, was it J. Jonah Jameson's dad? Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. But I just started reading that one literally like 2 days ago. Like I had it downloaded, but I just started reading it. You know, so I was just like, man, so much stuff that I don't know about Spider-Man. You know, I know the basic stuff, you know, but I was like, I want to look at the what I call the extended universe, but really it's just like the Spider-Man universe, Marvel universe, whatever. But yeah, I'm really excited to see this movie. It's one of those high up on my list of things to see for as soon as I can. You know.
Good deal. All right. Well, I've seen it. I love it. I think everybody should see it and give it a shot. There's only I could literally only point out one thing that I didn't like in it. It's a good thing you didn't take your kids because the Vulture would scare the crap out of him. I know they would.
Would it?
Because he can be pretty terrifying at times.
No, you're staying. You're staying here. We're not leaving.
Stop crying. Stop crying. But Spider-Man could possibly be one of the greatest superheroes of all time, spanning across every comic, you know, every comic company, every movie, anything you can think of. You know, when people think about superheroes, they think Spider-Man, Superman, Batman. You know, people like that. So Spider-Man is definitely up there in the big names, rightfully so. Why Spider-Man? Because he's Spider-Man. And everything about him is just right. Everything about him screams superhero, screams hero. With that, I'm going to say for Jesse Starcher, for Adam. No, wait a minute. I'm going to make Jesse plug some stuff.
Oh, no.
Jesse, plug some stuff.
Hey, plugs. Well, ladies and gentlemen, first, I want to invite you to go give the Rattlich in Broadcasting Network the Facebook page. Go find that, give it a like. Just go into Google, search just type in Rattlich, and then type in podcast. You're going to bring up just about darn near everything that we're on. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on TuneIn Radio. We're on Spreaker.com. And there's another one, too. I can't remember what it is. I always forget it. Like, my mind stops at 4. But TuneIn Radio, that's right. TuneIn Radio. You can check that out. We're on there somewhere. I do a podcast called Source Material right here on the network. We go back. We take a look at some great comic book stories that's happened in the past. We're up to over 120 episodes, and if you haven't already and you're interested, listen. The Flashpoint episode that we did, Ronnie Adams, through the roof. It's unbelievable. It went straight to the top. It's the most listened to podcast that I've had the opportunity to have. And I even think we beat out 411 Ground and Pound that week. I don't know what was going on. Yeah, dude. I can't believe it. I mean, I don't know how we pulled that off. But we did. And I'm happy.
Whole 7 listens.
I'm happy we did it. I'm happy we did it. But, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to check that out, like I said, just go to blogtalkradio.com. You can type in Radulich and look at the whole archive there. We're over at 120 episodes for source material, and we have all sorts of stuff on here. We got wrestling, lots of wrestling, thanks to our buddies over at W2Mnet.com. They are supplying us with a lot of wrestling content here lately. Movie reviews as the summer of blockbusters roll on. Damn You Hollywood will take you on a ride and let you know how those films have been faring. So check that out. On Trial, I assume, will come back at some point. And, of course, Metal Hammer of Doom, which I plugged there earlier on the podcast. That's all I can think of. If you'd like to follow me, you can do so at Stiznarkey on Twitter. Source Material has a Twitter as well. It's at SourceMacCast. And we also have a YouTube. We got all sorts of social medias, just all out there. But you can check out the YouTube stuff there. That's a lot of fun. All the medias. The YouTube stuff's fun because we can share visuals of the comic book pages that we're talking about. So I enjoy doing that. And Ronnie's been on there. Adam, you showed up, I think, one time. You made your appearance on Source Material when we were having a live episode, if I remember correctly. So anyway,
yes,
look forward to it. Was look forward to the last plug. I swear, probably this week. Craven's Last Hunt should drop on the network. I've had it in the can forever and a day. I just haven't had the opportunity to put it on the network, and I'd like to get it on here for Spider-Man Week since we missed the episode this past Monday. Man, I'll tell you right now, there is powerful stories in comic books. I'll use correct grammar here. There are powerful stories in comic books, and Craven's Last Hunt is absolutely one of them. The topics that we discuss on there, albeit it's primarily around the story of Peter trying to get back to his wife and deal with what Craven has done to him. The situation and the change that Craven is going throughout this book is pretty heavy-handed. So watch for that to drop. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be some interesting discussion between me and Benjamin J. Colon. And shout out again to our boys at the Ka-Pow, the Pop Culture Podcast, for coming on the show tonight. Yeah, go check their Facebook page out. They just dropped an episode, I think, earlier today, and I can't wait to listen. They have a lot of good content they put on there. I've guested over there on their show a couple times. They're just right down the road at Asylum Comics on 3rd Street in Marietta, Ohio. Adam Runyon, you gonna plug some stuff, Adam Runyon?
I tell you what, I'm not as good of a hype man as you are, man. But let me just tell you, if I had a band, you would totally be our MC. I had you come out to introduce us, man. I'm telling you, you're almost as good as. You're almost.
He's a whirling dervish of hype.
I'll do it.
He is. You're almost as good as oh gosh, who's the guy that hung out with like Run DMC and all them? Flavor Flav.
Hung out with
Flavor Flav. Oh my God.
He was a part of Public Enemy, you uncultured Philistine.
Flavor Flav.
Sorry, I got a little out of here.
I'm just saying. I get them all mixed up. But anyway, if you're looking, I just started my vacation today, so you'll see some funny stuff come your way. So if you're looking for me, you're really interested, you can find me on Twitter at AdamIsANerd.
Very nice. All right. You can find the show on Facebook. Just look up Screaming Boy Podcast. Twitter at Screaming Boy PR. Instagram Screaming Boy Podcast. We've got some stuff. We've done mostly just live shows here lately on the Radulich and Broadcast Network. Big shout out to Mark Radulich for letting us do that. Thank you so much. I do believe I have a way of recording once again. So we will be back to YouTube, to iTunes, and to Stitcher, and wherever, TuneIn, wherever else we are, very, very soon. Very soon. So I am no longer, I think, hopefully, Sans computer. And no, Teasley Sans is not a person. So with that, I'm going to say, for the Whirling Dervish of Hype, Jesse Starcher, Street Level Starch, for Adam, I don't have a cool nickname for you right now, I'm so sorry.
Nobody has a cool nickname for me, so maybe you can come up with one. Tweet it to me.
He is the Chewbacca to my Han Solo. He is Adam Runyon. I am Ronnie Adams. Have a beautiful evening. We're out.